There has been a continuous production of glass in the Stourbridge area for nearly 400 years. By the end of the 1600s, with 10 glass houses making broad glass, bottles and the new lead glass, the district was one of 3 main glass-making centres in the country. Although the industry was mainly a Staffordshire one, the county boundary is the River Stour and runs at the bottom of Stourbridge High Street, it had a Worcestershire trademark, Stourbridge Glass, because when it was developing, Stourbridge was already a thriving small market town where the business of a wide area was done. Banks became established there and the Talbot Hotel was a focal point. The product became known as Stourbridge Glass, and so it has remained. Famous glassmen of the late 19th century and early 20th century particularly, designers, inventors, innovators, are remembered and represented at the world-famous Broadfield House Glass Museum, which is where the Crystal Trail starts.
Hello, I'm Roger Dodsworth, Keeper of Glass at Broadfield House Glass Museum, and I'd like to say a few words about the museum and what we do here and how it came into being. The museum here has the unique distinction of being the only publicly owned glass museum or museum in the country devoted to glass, and the reason why we have the museum is because of the long and very important tradition of glassmaking in this area. The museum, in fact, celebrates the history of the Stourbridge glass industry from its very beginnings in the early years of the 17th century right up to the present day.
On the edge of the Black Country we find the Crystal Quarter. In a very confined area are the major crystal glass producers, each with an amazing history, still producing world-famous quality crystal today. The network of canals played a very important role in the development of the industry. Here we have signs of a sealed tunnel, which probably served the Webb Corbett glassworks. Many famous names and workers in the glass industry have been laid to rest in the local churchyard. Dennis Hall, once at the heart of the Thomas Webb Glassworks. Worsley Hall was the former home of the Richardson family. The Richardson Drill Hall, donated by William Hayden Richardson for the use of the local community. Worsley School of Art, now derelict, is at the bottom of Worsley High Street. This opened in 1897 and Frederick Carder was the principal instructor there teaching glassmaking. Carder emigrated to America in 1903 and founded the famous Steuben Works in Corning, New York State. The Glasscutters Arms in Barnet Street, Worsley, is near the site of the former J&J Northwoods glass cutting works, established in 1861. Here is a new establishment, its name the Glassworks, recognising the importance of the local industry. And this is a piece of public art at the start of the Glass Mile, opposite the former Webb Corbett Works, now Royal Dalton Crystal. Webb Corbett's original glassworks, the White House Glassworks, were at Worsley. The company moved to the present site in 1913 and in 1969 became part of the Royal Dalton Group and continues to produce quality glassware like the original Webb Corbett company. The works have undergone many changes. The cones were demolished some years ago, but many of the original buildings are still in use today. The one-time substantial residence, which now houses the offices and reception, design department and showroom, was built by Joseph Stevens, who occupied the Colborne Hill Glassworks from 1839 to 1852. Here, in the drawing and design office, the design team ensures that the tradition of the company for its unique quality of glass is maintained. Glass crystal is still made in the traditional way. It is still handmade. Visitors can follow the making of Royal Dalton crystal during a tour of the factory with an experienced guide, and will see the processes from the raw materials to the finished pieces of finest English crystal giftware and stemware. The atmosphere is one of creation, as visitors can feel the heat of the furnaces as the skilled workers turn the raw materials into the finest crystal.
Patrick Hayden. I work on the end of the leer, which is an endless conveyor belt. It anneals the glass, which takes 2.5 hours to come through. I'm checking the glass pieces for various faults, as stones, cords, and blisters, and we also check the size of the feet and the foot gauge to see if they're all more or less in uniformity. I started off almost 50 years ago. I started here on April the 1st, 1947, in the cutting shop as a lad. I used to have to start sweeping up first, and then I moved on to a frame, what they call a frame, and I practiced cutting in those days, and I signed a 5-year apprenticeship. And then when I learned that, I eventually moved on to the process department after, and which is to cut the tops off the glasses and then smooth the tops, inside bevel and outside bevel, and then they're melted on a machine that makes the top nice and smooth. And after that I moved back onto this processing job, the viewing job, and I've been there ever since. I've been here almost 50 years now, as I say, 1947, and seen a lot of changes over the years. The cutting department's changed a lot, whereas you used to have 2 processes years ago. You used to have to rough the design on first and then smooth it with a smoothing wheel. But now it's all done in one process by diamond wheels, which is more advanced. And over the years we've seen a lot of changes, a lot of them for the better, you know. Cleaner conditions and better machinery, and everything's, you know, great now. I'll be coming up to retirement shortly in October, so I think I've had a good life of it here. Can't grumble at all.
I am David Nightingale, Operations Manager of Royal Dalton Crystal, a member of the Royal Dalton Group, the world-famous tableware and giftware manufacturers. Glassmaking has taken place on this site for over 250 years, and in that time various companies have owned the site. Webb Corbett, founded in 1897, moved here in 1913, and they became part of Royal Dalton in 1969. 1997 is our centenary year, and here, in this claret set, you see the culmination of the craftsmanship that this factory has at its fingertips. As you will see on one of our guided factory tours, all manufacturing processes take place on this site and demonstrate all the traditional Stourbridge glass-making skills. In our factory shop, you will see examples of glass that goes all over the world, from a company who produce crystal for the royal family, prime ministers and all major world sporting events.
As we continue along the Crystal Trail, we come upon Dawn Crystal. This is a small crystal glass decorating shop. Reg Everton is the proprietor, who creates his own designs. Cutting case is his speciality, and Reg is acknowledged as one of the most skilled cutters in the country. Reg learned his skills at Stewart Crystal, where he served a 6-year apprenticeship working with 3 of the finest craftsmen of the time. Eventually, Reg decided to apply all the skills and experience he had acquired to his own advantage. He opened his own cutting shop, Dawn Crystal, named after his eldest daughter. Using a diamond cutting wheel, Reg cuts through the coloured outer casing of the cased bowl to reveal the clear crystal underneath. This is a very delicate operation as he has to cut very deeply into the crystal. The result is very pleasing.
This is a piece of blue cased, again cut in cobweb, nicked edge, nicked around the base, and also on the base a big 16-point jewel star. This is actually called cobalt blue. This is 2 layers of crystal glass. On the inside is the clear crystal, and on the outside is blue or ruby or green. This is a piece of green case crystal cut in church window pattern. These arches here represent the church window. That's why I call it church window pattern. Filled in with hobnail. This one is quarter diamonds. This one here is checkering. And these are called fans. On the base of the item is a big 16-point jewel star.
Harlequin Crystal is the only full-time manufacturer of cased crystal in this country. Overlay, or cased crystal as it is more commonly known, came from Bohemia at the beginning of the 19th century, but such glass had been made by the Romans. It was made by various English manufacturers from 1830. During this century, the demand for coloured glass declined. Cased crystal has 2 or more layers of glass. The flint or clear crystal is blown inside the blue case. The 2 layers are then reheated in the glory hole and fused together. The punch bowl now begins to take shape. A mould and jacks are used in the initial stages. The glass has to be reheated regularly in the glory hole. Preparation is now made to form the stem. This is separated from the iron using pallet-nosed shears. The stem is now shaped and is ready to receive the foot. The molten glass is dropped onto the stem. The foot is now very carefully and precisely formed. step is to attach the punty iron to the foot and then to remove the blowing iron from the top of the bowl. After reheating, the top edge of the bowl is trimmed using shears. The final shaping of the bowl now begins, the operator's hands still being shielded from the heat. This final process is a very skilled and precise job. The bowl is separated from the punty iron. It is now ready for annealing and then decorating. The Dial Glassworks was established in 1788. The canal alongside provided the transport for the raw materials. In 1935 the top of a cone was removed and then capped. The present day owners, Plowden and Thompson, have occupied the site since 1920. Today, crystal glass is no longer manufactured and production is concentrated on drawn glass tubing. They also produce coloured glass powder for other companies. The speciality of the company is miniature glass tubing, which is produced to engineering tolerances. For standard sized glass tubing, the glass is gathered and prepared in the normal manner. A second iron with a pancake or flat end is also prepared. This will act as an anchor when the glass is drawn out. Because of the intense heat, the iron has to be cooled. Preparation is now made for the drawing of the glass tubing. A team of 3 workmen is required. The glass is blown and drawn in a continuous operation. The diameter is controlled by the third member of the team. This is done by cooling the glass with a hand-operated fan. He checks the diameter many times during the operation. The process is smooth and continuous as the tubing is drawn out to a considerable length, perhaps up to 80 feet. The tube is now lifted onto a rack or bed where it is checked and then cut into specified lengths. Each diameter and wall thickness is carefully measured with a gauge. The tubing is now transferred to a straightening or truing machine. The tube is rolled and heated in the process. It is now ready for dispatch. The Red House cone, which dates from 1790, is a significant local landmark. Originally, sheet glass was manufactured for windows on this site. In 1796, production changed to bottles. In 1811, land opposite, known as the White House site, was purchased. Production still takes place there today.
So this is the Red House cone, built in 1790. Quite impressive when you come inside, isn't it? A lot of people say it's a lot bigger inside than it looks from the outside. It's 100 foot high, 60 foot wide at the base. When they repaired it about 11 years ago, they replaced 10,000 bricks. So we haven't actually counted how many are in now, but it's conical shape and there's different thicknesses of brick. And of course, when it was in use, that would have been open at the top. Today we've got a slight sort of perspex cover on the top to save the flooding and all the rain coming in.
The name Stewart dates from 1881, when Frederick Stewart started Stewart & Son Limited and occupied premises used by the Red House Glassworks. The factory today is very modern, with full facilities for guided tours of the production area. Modern equipment assists in preparing and marking the crystal accurately, ready for decorating. Decorating or cutting is still done in the age-old traditional way, but today diamond cutting wheels are used. This machine ensures that each piece of crystal is smooth-edged. The production process is the traditional method which dates back to the Huguenot era. As a result, no two pieces of glass produced in the factory are exactly the same.
And our lovely Iona, which is the air twist stem. Very plain, but technically the most difficult thing the glassmaker can do. And Stuart's one of the few people now that do the lovely air twist stem.
The stencil, place it in the centre and straight. Get a little piece of card and rub where the excess glue and get all the air bubbles out, like so. Once the stencil's dry, I then mask it up, and then once it's been masked, it's then taken to be blasted. When it's finished, it looks like a grey effect.
After the closure of Thomas Webb's Dennis Glassworks, the redundant craftsmen, 14 in all, formed a new company and called themselves Tudor Dennis Hall Crystal. This happened in 1989. Today, 11 of the 14 original founders remain. Kevin Andrews, a member of the Guild of Glass Engravers, operates from Broadfield House. He uses the copper wheel engraving method for his work. Kevin is renowned for his skills, especially with animal and bird engravings. His services are used by many of the glass producers in the area. Each engraving is accurate down to the most minute detail and requires the utmost concentration. The next port of call on the Crystal Trail is the ultra-modern Crystal Glass Centre showroom at Ordnham.
Hello and welcome to the Crystal Glass Centre. I'd like to take this opportunity just to show you around a little bit and show you some of the items that we're actually selling in the centre. We're not only selling traditional cut crystal, obviously, that is quite historic to this area of Stourbridge, but also introducing some new pieces, some new colours, giving it a total kaleidoscope of colour of crystal to the area, something completely different.
The Crystal Glass Centre stands in celebration of the grand history of the Stourbridge glass industry and also of its future. At the heart of the Crystal Quarter, the grand new purpose-built Crystal Glass Centre can be found. On the first floor, visitors can see a video presentation. They can enjoy a coffee in the patisserie and on a weekend relax in the atmosphere of a classical music recital. The Glass Centre is dedicated to developing and demonstrating new environmentally sensitive technology. Visitors are very welcome at the modern workshops where they can see skilled craftsmen practicing the age-old art of glass cutting on modern machines. The skilled glass cutters were recruited to demonstrate and produce decorated crystal of the highest quality. The workshops are very modern and immaculate, in keeping with the image of the Crystal Glass Centre.
At the moment we only actually sell Thomas Webb stemware, but we are hopefully going to, in the very, very near future, get lots and lots of giftware something that's been developed at the centre, and the nice thing for ourselves is that it is local crystal, so it will be quite extensive. All this side will actually be filled with Thomas Webb. Right, I'd now like to show you a nice completely new range called Blowzone. Very, very different, very unusual, something completely different that I haven't seen for a long time, and made locally again. Completely different than Thomas Webb. Thomas Webb being a traditional cut crystal, and this one, as you can see, quite modern in its aspects. Made locally, just across the road from the centre, and it's doing very, very well. I'll also now like to show you some Edinburgh crystal, because basically Edinburgh crystal is who we are. Edinburgh crystal and Thomas Webb, so I'll show you some of the giftware of Edinburgh crystal. These are some of the ranges that we sell in the Edinburgh crystal giftware. Quite a good selection. We also sell first quality and second quality, both in the giftware and in stemware. Also presentation boxed and non-presentation boxed. Again, seconds and first quality. We're extremely excited about Leonardo. This is our new stand and some new pieces that we haven't had in before. Very, very different, very, very modern. Not everybody's taste, but you need to be able to offer a good variety, and I think that's what we are actually doing at the centre, giving variety.
Brierley Crystal is an old, established and independent family business founded in 1776, producing a comprehensive range of crystal wines, sweets and giftware. The company is unique in that it is the only crystal business ever to be granted a British monarch's royal warrant. The first such warrant was bestowed by King George V in 1919 and has been renewed by each successive monarch. In 1985, the company was delighted to be granted also the warrant of His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. The royal warrant is a unique tribute to the quality and craftsmanship of Royal Brierley's Crystal. Royal Brierley Crystal Limited came under its present ownership in 1824. Over 160 years later, work continues on exactly the same site in the West Midlands, west of the centre of Birmingham, and many improvements have since taken place. Today's management team and craftsmen and women continue to invest and expand and are committed to preserving Royal Brierley's reputation as one of the world's oldest yet most progressive crystal glass manufacturers. Today, modern automated equipment is used in the production of Royal Brierley Crystal. A mechanical gatherer using a vacuum-operated system removes molten glass from the furnace. Surplus glass is captured for reuse. This is known as cullet. The furnace is a constantly charged, continuous unit. The preformed glass is removed from the gatherer by the glass blower using a blowing iron with a preheated base. The glass is then formed in the traditional way. It is formed by hand and then blown using a mould. There is no more fascinating spectacle than the interior of a busy glass house. It is as lively and fantastic as are seen in any ballet. Grouped around the furnace, footmakers make red-hot bubbles, swaying and weaving like trumpeters in a wild jazz orchestra. Takers in dart to and fro like torch-bearers, whilst in a calmer rhythm, servitors and workmen fashion the molten metal into exquisite crystal forms. The art of cutting has existed for centuries, producing from diamond-impregnated wheels something aflame with the glory of a myriad of colours. It was not until the middle of the 18th century that the lead, or flint as it was called, glassmakers experimented in applying flat facets cut into their crystal with stone wheels rotated by means of a foot treadle. 200 years has seen a steady change in the motive power of the lathe and the type of wheel and abrasive use for hand cutting. The individual craftsmanship remains the same, however, the decorator holding the article of crystal to the face of a fast rotating wheel and by his dexterity sinking his cuts into the required pattern. A bath of acid mixture restores the brilliant surface of the glass and enhances the cut to reflect the spectrum from their glittering angles. Royal Brierley is exclusively made and can be compared with 18-karat gold, sterling silver, or fine bone china. It is guaranteed by the name branded on every piece. How can one distinguish between handmade and cut crystal and pressed glass? By the sharpness of the cutting or the crystal, by its intrinsic weight, by its brilliance and clarity, and by its looks and very feel of quality. Royal Brierley, the only royal brand, is stocked by the leading glass and china and jewellers' shops and department stores throughout the world.
I'm Sam Thompson, actually, and I joined Royal Brierley about 1923. So I've had quite some experience with them, and I've seen many changes in that period. I came as a boy, and in 1925 I was privileged to see the Duke and Duchess of York then that visited the factory. And I stood on the top of a gas producer that was in the centre of the factory to see them. And I was only a youngster. But I was managing the processing in the factory for many years, and then the later years I joined the late chairman of the company in setting up this museum. And this museum reflects a lot of the history of the company. Here you see many techniques are shown. Now this is interesting because the silver deposit, silver is welded to the surface of the glass, the background is cut away, and the artist then chases the silver. Adjacent to it here is massaged glassware. Its various metallic oxides are rolled into it whilst it's hot in the glass house. Then it's shattered, reheated and welded together like this and then blown into the article, giving a massaged effect. Everyone different. Again, that was an idea of John Northwood. That little pieces at the corner there are known as Silveria ware, which are techniques not used today for a place between layers of glass and then oxidized and then on the outer edge threaded with green glass. The lamp, a white opalescent one covered with a citron glass, then again covered with a very fine thread of ruby glass from base to top. And whilst it's in that hot state, it's pulled out into that wavy motion. The house where we're in now is known as Honeybourne Museum, and the house was built in 1885 by Joseph Silvers Williams Thomas for a new art director that we were accepting, name of John Northwood, who was running a factory at Wordsley known as J&J Northwoods of Wordsley Decorators. Well, John Northwood was a famous name in the glass industry. He created the famous duplicate of the Portland vase and in cameo, and he was a great artist in his own right. Well, Silvers Williams Thomas acquired his services and brought him here as art director for this company. So this house was built to house him, and he lived here.
Glass studio, renowned for its unique handcrafted designs throughout the world, was founded in 1979 by Richard Golding. At the time, Richard was operating from the Broadfield House Glass Museum. Only limited limited edition studio glass was manufactured, and each piece was signed by Richard. In 1994, Peter Hughes joined forces with Richard, and the new Ochre Glass studio came into operation in the new, larger premises. Glassmakers were recruited and suitably retrained in the art of producing ochre studio glass. The new factory was fitted out with machines and equipment designed and built by Richard and Peter. Quality and style were not sacrificed as production increased. On June the 24th, 1994, Her Royal Highness the Queen honoured the studio with a visit and was presented with the very first piece of studio glass manufactured in the new premises. Glass used in production is of a unique formation and has different working qualities or characteristics from the normal lead crystal as used in the glass industry. Neither paint nor transfers are used in the production process. All the coloured glass and coloured rods are mixed on the premises. The designs and patterns are unique to Richard. 1995, sales effectively doubled, and again in 1996. 50% of the production is exported, the majority going to Japan and Asia. Okra are considered the world leaders in the production and design of this type of glass. The entire range currently available is very popular. Limited editions are obtained only on special order. Signature and the Richard Golding collection have a 6-month delivery. Seen from our visits to old established traditional glassworks, works museums, smaller concerns and individual craftsmen, that experimentation and innovation in design, colour and manufacturing processes continue, thus ensuring that this long established local craft industry thrives.